Hello. Let me get that fixed. There we go. All right. Hello. This is part 2 of my background in terms of how I got into Korean culture and entertainment. So as I left off from the last video, throughout college, I didn't purchase as much. It was more like I just listened to the CDs I had. I forgot to mention that one of the members of Shinhwa, Min Woo, he had a couple of solo albums, so I bought both of those as well. And so I would be walking around campus because at the time I didn't have a car, so I would just walk around campus with my Discman. This is how long ago this was, and I would be listening to all my Korean CDs, and then I started delving more into like finding songs online from other artists that I didn't own the albums of, and so I would start, like, back then you would burn CDs, so I was burning all these CDs of different mixes and stuff, and so I would listen to those on campus with my Discman, or if I was in a car, I'd listen to them in the car, just, whatever, it wasn't my car because I ain't have no car. I walked. So that was basically college for the most part. And at that point in time, I never really went back to anime, only because, and I still kind of feel this way, and I probably have a very unpopular opinion when I say this, but I think I've seen all there is there needs to be seen, with anime. With the exception of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I will watch that. And there have been other videos occasionally that I've seen, or other anime that I've seen that I garner some interest in, so I'll watch it. I'm going to open the door because it's hot and I'm starting to sweat. So, but that's a whole nother thing. So, basically, in terms of my purchases, I didn't do it as much in college, really, because I was a college student. I didn't have any money. So I just basically listened to what I had, utilized the internet for what I didn't have. And after I graduated from college in 2009, okay, I got married. Basically, still just listening to whatever I could find. And eventually, I ended up buying a few more CDs. I bought Rain, Crush, and Zion T. And this is like over a period of about 5 or 6 years. Because for a while, probably a few years or so, I just kind of stopped altogether. Just because I was adjusting to being a wife, living on my own with my husband, graduated college, adulting, that kind of thing, learning adult responsibility, and trying to make some money, because my degree is in art studio, my husband's degree is in theater, so we were literally, in a way, starving artists, so we didn't have a lot of money, so I definitely didn't have $30 to buy another CD. So once a few years passed, that's when I got those last 3 that I mentioned before. But with Crush and Zion T, that was a different story. So these came a few years later after I bought the Rain CD. And so I just remember I was up one night gallivanting around, and I think my husband was asleep and I was bored. And the thought crossed my mind, I was like, I wonder what's going on with the Korean music lately, because, at this point I hadn't been like trying to find out what was new and hot at the time. And so I went to YesAsia.com again, and I just kind of went through just to see what was popular. And that's when I discovered Crush, his first album. This was like 2016 when this happened. And his album had come out in 2015, I believe. So it hadn't been that long since this album had come out. And so on YesAsia.com, typically they have it where you could listen to like a 30-second sample of each track. Well, I did that, and I was like, this is amazing. Oh my gosh. This is when I discovered the true, like, Korean R&B. And so I was like, oh, I gotta buy this. I gotta get the CD. So somehow I was able to get it. I don't know how. I mean, once again, at this point, we still didn't have a lot of money, per se. We had more than we did initially, but somehow I bought the CD. And I was working at a factory at the time, so I made a little more money, but we weren't trying to necessarily like frivolously spend it on random stuff, but I wanted to have a CD, so I bought the CD. And I remember at the time I had changed shifts at the factory I was working at, and I had an orientation that day. It was like a special training, and I remember the CD came in that day, and I was like, ooh, I want to listen to this so bad. And so my car at the time did not have a CD player. I think I had to plug in the auxiliary cord that you plug into your car and into your CD player. So I think I was able to listen to it, but barely. But I remember I was so excited that I took the CD with me to the orientation. And like during the break and stuff, I kept like looking at the back of the CD, like reading the tracks, opening up the CD, looking at the little book on the inside. And I was just like, oh, I want to listen to this so bad. I don't care anything about this orientation, what they're talking about. I want to listen to this Crush CD. And so, like, especially that song A Little Bit, that was my jam, okay? Like, I wore that song out. So that was what happened with that. And then when I was going to these shady websites, trying to listen to as much R&B as I could, I come across a track called, what was it called? Stay Cool. And it was by Simon Dominic, who was a rapper. And I liked, the old school sound of it. But then I heard this singing voice, and I'm like, who is this? It was I.N.T., who is still, one of my favorites, if not my top favorite. He's definitely up there, like in the top 3. And so I went to YouTube and typed in his name and like watched some of his music videos and stuff. And I was like, this guy is legit. And I liked his vibe. So I bought his CD, his first CD. I think it was his first CD. The one called Red Light, I think. And that was the last CD that I bought, my last Korean CD that I bought, because at this point you could just go on YouTube and listen to it, and at this time you had to wait, like especially if they just come out with something, you had to wait at least maybe a month before the whole track list was released on YouTube for you to listen to. You might be able to find the song, or if they made a music video for a song, you could look at that. But in terms of like the whole album, you had to wait at least a few weeks before somebody would upload the whole album for you to listen to. So I was able to like look at some of the old stuff, like his performances and stuff like that. But like the album that I had, I think at the time, before I bought it, I wasn't able to listen to the whole CD on YouTube. So that was pretty much it. And then it just kind of took off from there to where I started discovering more and more hip hop and R&B artists. So that's when I discovered who Dynamic Duo was, and Hayes and Dean, and all these different R&B artists and hip hop artists. And I made a playlist on YouTube. I still have the playlist. I don't really go back to it too often, just because that's what my phone is for. But I made a playlist on YouTube, and like every day when I would go to work, or if I was at home, I would listen to the playlist. Or how now YouTube will recommend similar things. Well, I kept adding tracks to this playlist. And so I would shuffle the playlist. I would just play it as is, or just go through and pick what song I wanted to listen to. And I did that for a long time. And so this pretty much ends part 2. Part 3, I'm going to get into the more current things in terms of how my love and interest for the entertainment kind of blossomed into something bigger. And I'll get into that in the third part. So you all stay tuned for that. Peace. I got to go back to work.